Dr. John Noland, let's talk about AMD, age-related macular degeneration. What is it and what causes this blinding condition?
Well, as its name suggests, age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, is an age-related eye condition, and it's now the leading cause of blindness in the Western world. This blinding condition is particularly frustrating because it results in a loss of colour and detailed central vision, with associated challenges for the patient in terms of ability to read, to write, to recognise the loved one's face. So it has massive challenges for the patient. And this condition is on the increase because it's an age-related eye disease. Indeed, about 500,000 people in the United Kingdom already have this condition, and the figures and the statistics suggest that by 2020 the number of people with this will in fact double.
So is it mainly people over 50 or 60 who are affected?
It develops from the age of 50 years of age onwards, and it develops because of a lifetime exposure to what we call light exposure and oxygen use. And these are two processes that are required for normal living and for cells to function properly. So what we say to our patients is this disease is the cost of living. And because we're all living longer, the number of people with this continues to increase. But yes, it starts to present from the age of 50 years of age onwards.
What are the risk factors for AMD?
There are many risk factors for age-related macular degeneration, and these are now well known and established. And the most important risk factors for age-related macular degeneration include age, obviously, it's an age-related eye condition. Family history, genetics are very important, and we've now identified the risk genes for age-related macular degeneration. Cigarette smoking is a very important modifiable risk factor, which is important because that means we can modify this risk factor to reduce the progression or even this disease developing in the first place. Of late, research into the area of nutrition and the role that nutrition has for age-related macular degeneration, and that risk factor is important, and this is the area of research that we specialise in Waterford in Ireland.
What can people do to protect against AMD, to stop it happening to them?
In terms of reducing this disease, we need to understand that it's a multifactorial disease, which means that it develops for many reasons, so therefore there's many risk factors. So the suggestion is, and the hope is, that if we can optimise the modifiable risk factors such as cigarette smoking, for example, stop cigarette smoking, nutrition, have a healthy diet, leafy greens, coloured fruits and vegetables, and maybe even look at the role of nutritional supplements to stop this disease developing, given the abundance of research that has been conducted in this area.
There's a phrase that you use called macular pigment. What is macular pigment?
Macular pigment, put simply, is a measure of the nutritional component of the eye. So the measure of what was originally referred to as the yellow spot for the eye. And this macular pigment, as you call it, this yellow spot, is extremely important. A, because of its location. It's located right at the centre of the retina, where age-related macular degeneration presents. And what's interesting about macular pigment is its properties. Its properties are that it can filter light and it's an antioxidant. And these are the two reasons why we develop age-related macular degeneration: light exposure and oxidative stress. So we have this natural filter which we get from our diet, which has the ideal location and has the ideal properties to protect against macular degeneration.
Another word you use is mesozeaxanthin. Why is that important? What's important about that? Again,
mesozeaxanthin is important because A, it's a component of the macular pigment, and indeed it's the central component at the very centre of the retina, so where the disease develops, and moreover where we have sharpest visual acuity, colour appreciation, mesozeaxanthin is located there. And what we now know from the research studies is that some individuals are deficient in mesozeaxanthin, and if you give them a food supplement such as a commercially available supplement known as MacuShield, we've shown in a research study that you can in fact increase their protective pigment level and therefore hopefully protect against age-related macular degeneration.
So all in all, how much research is going on into mesozeaxanthin and AMD?
Over the last decade, research in this area has accelerated, from the National Eye Institute all the way across to Europe to our own lab in Waterford in Ireland. There's been many extensive clinical trials and studies, particularly of late research into mesozeaxanthin and the unique role of the individual macular carotenoids, the other carotenoids being lutein and zeaxanthin. And research and fine research in those areas is ongoing. Already we have some very promising results with mesozeaxanthin, and we've just recently published a very important scientific study in the journal Current Eye Research that shows how at-risk individuals of this condition can respond very positive to the food supplement MacuShield.
What is the difference between the research that MacuVision is doing and the research that might be conducted by other companies? Because you are a relatively new young company, aren't you?
Well, I'm an independent researcher myself, so I do research for many companies. I do research on all the available food supplements, and we are, as you say, doing research for MacuVision Europe, looking at the benefits and the potential that mesozeaxanthin has. And this is unique because it is the only available food supplement that contains the central portion of the macular pigment. And why that's also important is mesozeaxanthin, unlike lutein and zeaxanthin, is not normally found in the diet. And we know that at-risk individuals have low levels, depleted levels of the mesozeaxanthin, and therefore by consumption of the food supplement, such as what's available with MacuShield, we've shown that these at-risk individuals can significantly impact on their macular pigment.
How long do you think it's going to take before AMD disappears as anything that people have to be afraid of?
I don't think AMD is going to disappear, and as I said at the start of this interview, age-related macular degeneration is a growing problem because of the aging society. And it's for that reason that we need to look at the preventative measures, the role of nutrition, the role of positive lifestyle changes such as controlling your weight, stop cigarette smoking, and a combination of all these are what's required if we are to reduce the burden that is age-related macular degeneration and its associated obvious consequences.
Our eyes are the windows to our souls, but take away our sight and we lose our independence in the blink of an eye. Nora was told she'd go blind in a few years and should give up her beautiful home in the country. She has age-related macular degeneration. It causes you to lose your central vision and is the commonest cause of blindness in the UK.
I remember the very first time I realised there was something really wrong was watching television, and the heads were very distorted. And so I looked away and noticed that the frames around the pictures hanging in the sitting room were gone wavy.
She couldn't drive because the lines on the road looked jagged. She proofreads for a job, but the words on the page were distorted. Nora was slowly going blind. That was until she started taking a food supplement.
But about 6 months after I'd started to take the supplement, I realised that, hold on a minute, I can read again, I don't need help. The distortion was gone. It was fairly spectacular.
And it's this that's helped to save Nora's eyesight, the humble marigold. It's the flower's yellow pigment that's got scientists all in a twirl. Scientists in Ireland have made a breakthrough in AMD using the marigold. The flower contains the plant pigment mesozeaxanthin. It's one of 3 plant pigments found at the macula, which is at the back of the eye, at the centre of the retina. These pigments are lacking in some people, putting them at risk of developing AMD. The pigment you find in marigolds acts as an antioxidant and protects against harmful blue light.
This is interesting because mesozeaxanthin is not normally found in diet, but it's a very important component of an individual's macular pigment. And to be able to see that individuals can respond to this in supplement form was indeed a breakthrough for science.
Harry Marsland, a retired optician, relied on his magnifying glass to get through life.
I needed to take it out with me if I went to a restaurant for a meal. I couldn't see the names and words on a map, in the dictionary, at the small print in the paper. And finally, out of frustration, I went and bought myself the big magnifying glass.
Then Harry decided to take the supplement containing extracts from the marigold flower, one a day, costing £150 a year.
So I started taking this pigment supplement in May of 2007, and by September 2007, we realised that I wasn't using the magnifying glass anymore. By October, I wasn't using a bright light over my shoulder to see as the evenings got darker, and by January, I was driving in the dark.
Harry's eyesight is nearly back to how it was before. Leading consultant ophthalmic surgeon Stephen Beattie has witnessed other success stories.
I have a patient who attends me from Dublin, and I recommended this particular supplement. And what we found was that the patient's vision in that eye improved from 10% to 80% over the following year.
Age-related macular degeneration is a growing problem because it's an age-related condition and we're all living longer. Indeed, the figures suggest that by 2020, the number of people with this condition will have in fact doubled.
Losing your eyesight is devastating, but for those who've had success taking this food supplement, the twinkle is back in their eye.
To know that you're inevitably going to go blind and then to discover slowly that everything's turned back to normal, it's unbelievable.
I can actually read an 8-point aerial if I want to. Do you want to hear? Yep. You're sitting by a pond in a railway station. The light is dim and through the brick steel and glass hall has the proportions and detailings of the cathedral. Well done. I'm telling you, it's mega.